Hey everyone, it's Les from Comfortable Shoes Studio, and I am showing you another background making session. Now, my background making sessions last for an hour or so, sometimes longer, sometimes less, depends on how many pages I'm working on. This session lasted over an hour. I recorded the whole thing, but I'm speeding up a lot of it because a lot of it's super repetitive and some of it you've seen before. I'm getting started, as I typically do, by scraping super thin, visually textured, but not physically textured pages. I am using a combination of student grade tubed acrylic and craft acrylics on this. So the student grade acrylics that I tend to favor are the Liquitex Basics brand. And I'm using a huge variety of craft acrylics here from probably every brand available. I'm also using some craft acrylics from the Dollar Tree. So one of the things that I wanted to show um, is the use of tools that mimic other tools. So this is an old school hack that a lot of you have probably know of, but has been replaced, I think, by jelly printing, and that's putting paint onto the bubble wrap and then putting the bubble wrap directly on your page, not onto the jelly plate. I think most often we now see collage materials with bubble wrap pressed into the jelly plate, but I just want to remind people that the old school way of doing it was to grab a wide brush and your acrylic paints and paint on a thin layer of bubble wrap. You can also ball the bubble wrap up and dip it into the paint and press it onto the page. This works really, really well, and I've used this for ages to get that bubble wrap kind of smooshed look, and it works really well. So I wanted to show that here. Gives you a lot of really nice visual texture in an image without being expensive. This is the cost of a wide brush, the cost of the acrylic paint that you're going to put onto it, and some patience and time with the recycled bubble wrap. Here I'm adding some water and using my brush to move it around a little bit, just to get some of the paint off of my brush, to re-wet some of the acrylic paint. This gives you a fun watercolor-like appearance to the bubble wrap. And part of the reason I'm doing this is I just wanted to use as much of the acrylic paint as I possibly could and clean my brush so that it didn't dry out while I continued to work. So I'm just flipping through here and fixing a torn page with some glue stick. And here I'm going to do some journaling. I'm writing really big. I'm using a technique where you write the words over and over and over again. And the whole point of this is not that it can be read later. I don't really care about being able to read this later. It is creating visual texture that I'm going to draw on top of. So I'm writing the same phrase over and over and over again. I've already journaled about this, talked to my therapist about this, and sort of sublimating it onto the page. So it's overlapped letters just to create visual texture. Now I'm going to take some craft acrylic from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to squirt that on. I'm going to use that old gift card to scrape it around the page again. And you'll notice that the craft acrylics from Dollar Tree are very, very transparent. Everything underneath them is completely visible. I'm using a little tubed acrylic here. The cool thing is that the craft acrylics picked up a little bit of the black paint. So there's a little bit of like a grainy, sandy appearance that is visual only and works really well. So this white craft acrylic, in my budget series, I believe I said it somewhere during that one of the first things that I would add to a budget art journaling setup would be some brushes and some bottles of craft acrylic. And that's because a white or cream colored craft acrylic is a really nice page sealer. It seals up your page for other media, makes it a little more sturdy. It acts almost like a gesso, absorbs into the page, and an acrylic paint like this works really well for that because it is so inexpensive. All right, so I forgot to record the very first part of this. But what I'm doing is I've got a champagne cork. I've got a collection of corks that I got from a recycle group. So this champagne cork that, or is it a Prosecco? Whatever. Anyway, some sort of sparkling wine cork. I'm smushing a small amount, very, very small dab of acrylic paint onto that cork. I'm then smushing it into the page. I'm hitting it with the heat gun to dry it out a little bit, and then I'm scraping it with the old gift card to smooth it out. So I've said this before, when I start my backgrounds like this, I am looking for visual texture, not physical texture. I like my art journal pages to be relatively flat until I start working on them, and the background pages are just meant to be a start for me. I don't see these as finished or anything like that. They're just there to let me have some visual interest as I'm working with other media, or I'm collaging on top of it. So I'm keeping these relatively smooth. I hit them with a heat gun, I scrape them out, and then I decided that I want to smush some more paint. So I'm kind of moving the paint around a lot more here, making those circles quite a bit bigger. And again, hit it with the heat gun. And yeah, so there we go. Cleaning off the paint from the edges. Just, I think dots are always interesting in my book. And then I get out the mixed media gel sticks, and I'm just adding some more patterns, some more color. Some of this will show in the final thing, and I go through and I do a repetitive pattern on every page. I try to make the backgrounds kind of unified. I find this kind of thing really therapeutic and relaxing. Repetitive patterns, and drawing them over and over again. I could go into the research, but it's shown to, clinically relax people and be helpful. There's something about the flow state here. So anyway, yeah, I spent like an hour doing this and just relaxing into making the backgrounds. And then these serve as, a canvas for me later for journaling and sketching and drawing. And yeah, all right. So here I'm adding some water to those mixed media gel sticks, and it moves around really well, particularly on the acrylic paint. It adds like a thin layer of color that I find really interesting. On the areas where the paper is raw and doesn't have any acrylic paint on it yet, moves around pretty well, re-wets well. I will say I don't think these are the most highly pigmented gel sticks I've used. Gelatos are quite a bit more pigmented, but these, I think you get more product. I don't know if that's better or not. I'm going to have another video where I show myself drawing with them. So anyway, this was my background making session. I hope you get some ideas from this. Maybe you get some bubble wrap out and smush it onto a page. Play around with other recycled materials. I think I'm going to do a video where I use a bunch of recycled materials on these pages, and we'll see where that takes us. So thank you everyone who's been here watching these, liking these, and is finding this helpful. Anyway, thank you. And if you have found this helpful, consider heading over to my Ko-fi page. It's linked in the description. And buying me a cup of coffee if you want to see me do more budget art journaling videos. That's a huge help and lets me buy materials so I can demonstrate them for you. If you have any requests for demonstrations, let me know in the comments. Thanks, and I'll see you next time. Bye.